Welcome to Weekend Side Quest, Season 1, Episode 9. So, I've picked up one of those large rolls of PET GCF because it was on sale. And on my printer, Prusa Mark IV comes with this tree, whatever it's called, to hold the filaments on. And great for normal size filaments, but this was like a giant 3 kilogram roll, so it's not going to fit on this tree thing. So I found on printables that one of these kind of someone designed it, fits from the Mark III, Mark IV style filament roll holders. And it's also kind of funny that downloading the model of that, printing the model, I wanted to print those in the PET GCF I have, but I can't mount the roll of the PET GCF because I haven't made the mounts yet. So I had this chicken and egg problem where I just basically put the roll on the floor and hand fed it up and kept coming back and guiding it and giving it lots of slack until it would have enough filament so it wouldn't get too tight, because the filament on the floor, the roll was just not spinning at all and you had to kind of babysit it. But making the parts and then printing the wheels in regular just PETG with the orange to have the aesthetic to match the printer. Quite happy with that. I didn't design those, I just found the models on printables. But as it went, I basically, because I had before the ability to hold two rolls, I printed two of these things. And then this is also where I started learning, like, different materials have different expansions or contractions. PETG likes to shrink apparently. And I realized that the way these were designed at their 100% scale, I couldn't get the bolts to fit inside the holes where they're supposed to go. And I kept breaking them and reprinting them and reprinting them. Then I realized if I just scale it 99% of the bolt, it would fit. And then later on, I found out and learned about the XY adjustment under the advanced settings in the slicer, and learning that what that means for dimensional changes, that helped make the parts print the right way. Of course, I only printed like the arm parts once, and I had to print a bunch of bolts until I got it right and figured it out. But then this type of spool holder inside the little orange wheels, there's bearings, and they're the standard 608 gate bearing or fidget spinner bearing. So from within a side quest of wanting to modify the printer to have a better support for holding a bigger spool, I went down on printables and Thingiverse and found a bunch of different designs for bearings you could print. I guess I could just order them, but I mean, it's a side quest on the weekend, and this is already a side quest within a side quest at this point. So I just wanted to do something I could make today. So the leftistmost one to the right are three different attempts. The one second from the right is the one here. I actually found this one works well. I'll come back to this one in a sec because I did this after. But I found this design here on printables. Now the thing about this that makes it really neat to me is that they just use a piece of filament as a roller inside the plastic housing, and that's, to me, that makes sense because it's more precise than anything round that I could possibly print at size. So, following their well laid out instructions and documentation, set out, and I thought they are challenging to assemble. So I thought I would just print a bunch of them, and then I'd have a bunch, and I'd never have to ever deal with or think about making bearings again, like in batches as I need them. I'll just make a few of them in one go, and now I have a baggie, good to go. But come back to that. But then, yeah, I did end up discovering later on another side quest of using steel balls in a deep race bearings. So after, anyhow, getting the filament mounted, the first thing I discovered is that the way the spool's on top and it rolls, when the print head lifts up, it now unwinds the filament from the spool. I didn't have this problem before the filament tree. So I basically took the arm from the filament holder and just chopped it apart and then put a hole in it. I did this in CAD. I didn't really chop it apart in real life, but I kind of shoplifted the holder style, and then I also shoplifted the knob and just put a hole in it. The idea is so you can turn the knob, have the slots aligned, put the filament in, and then twist it to have it kind of locked to hold the filament and keep it retained. To me, this was important because I'm always forgetting, or maybe sometimes I want the filament guide on or off, and just not having to unwind it all the way made sense to do it this way. one problem I didn't think about is when the print head is at the highest point, it's basically coming right near this metal frame on the print bed, and it's totally crashing into these clippy parts that I made. So I went back to FreeCAD and just kind of, instead of stealing it, drew my own based on the same profiles. This time, the vertical parts on the back and the clippy things on the front. Same idea with the knob. And I made this, and it seems to work well. It's out of the way now. But now I notice like the way this, there's not much grab on the bottom, so I might have to put a little bit more clippy stuff because the way the geometry of this filament guide is, it goes down, pulled down sometimes when it's in operation. But it works for now. It just keeps the spool from unwinding itself when the head moves up and down. But as always, if I'm not happy with it, it might just end up getting done again. Um, yeah, and so far, I have two of these. I also printed two sets of the filament holders, so now I have the same capacity to hold two spools on top and the filament guide, and basically replaced the original tree holder thing we had. But then while I was waiting for stuff to print, I went and researched and learned about deep groove ball bearings, and I found a OpenSCAD, a parametric model that lets you design the different sizes of raceways by just entering in parameters. The stock one, it was working with 4 millimeter balls. I happen to have 3 millimeter balls, so that's why with OpenSCAD you just play with parameters and adjust things. So this is my recentest success of bearing, that custom bearings. That it's a 5 millimeter um, hole in the center. I think a 12 millimeter outside diameter, and it's not like I have a need for bearings, but just I was playing to see what's the smallest bearing I can make, and also what's the largest bearing I can make. The largest one here, I was thinking of making like a Lazy Susan type of thing for my mom, but she already has one, so I don't really have a need for this at the moment. But it's just to be able to make a bearing of any size is kind of a neat skill or feature to be able to do that. I want to basically learn bearings so I could use them in my back burner project to make remote control toy cars for the kids. But anyhow, for now, the purpose of this side quest is I got the giant spool mounted on filament holder with the little bearings inside the wheels, and it works. And this was the picture I took before I made the filament guide, and that's why I realized yes, you need a filament guide. So, but basically, this whole quest was modifying my printer to make it more um, convenient or useful for the things I want to do.